Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video of Mod. Today, we're going to be talking about um, the introduction of the British tech tree to Naval 1945 and probably what it would look like. I'm going to start off with the battleships because I myself am a battleship person. I enjoy battleships because they have big guns, they have a lot of anti-air, not as much anti-air as some of the AA cruisers, but battleships are mean ships which can, in the right circumstances, one-shot cruisers. Anyway, the first ship I have thought of is, well, it's really two ships, really. HMS... I can't even spell this. So, the two ships I thought of is either HMS Dragnaught, which is the first Dreadnought, or HMS Neptune. Now, I did just search it up in the video, of course, but it really did come to my attention that HMS Neptune could be a relatively nice introduction. The reason why I think it's going to be a relatively nice introduction is because HMS Neptune, I believe, has 305mm guns or smaller guns. I'm not entirely sure. Now, gun. They were 5 twin 12-inch 305mm gun. Yeah. So HMS Neptune has a bit of a weird gun layout where it has one gun at the front, and then, if I'm correct, it has uh two wing guns, but the left one is facing backwards and the right one is facing forwards, and it has a super firing um back guns. Now that's a bit different to HMS Dragnaught, which from this image you can see here, it has one gun or turret at the front, two wing turrets, one mid turret, and one aft turret. Bit of a more simpler design than HMS Neptune, but then we've got to take into consideration that HMS Dreadnought basically has better armor than the HMS Neptune. The HMS Neptune uh, basically is like HMS Dragnaught, but it's not as well armored. Let's have a look. Armor. Nope, that is a Leander class. Oh, there it is. It's just the armor is 8 to 10 inch, so 203 to 254, and HMS Dreadnought, which I'm pretty certain has much better armor, 4 to 11 inches. So it kind of does have better armor, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't. And as you can see, the gun layout here, as you can see, is a vastly different to the gun layout of the HMS Dragnaught, which you can see from this photograph here. So HMS Neptune could do 21 knots. HMS Dreadnought could do 21 knots. Armament 5 twin 12-inch guns, or 305, not 300, but 305mm. 27 3-inch guns. That's a lot of guns. And then HMS Neptune had 16 400 and not 400, 102 mm guns, which is a little bit less, but it also had three 18-inch 450 mm torpedo tubes, which really that's not 18-inch, that's more like 17.8-inch torpedo tubes. Which really, if HMS Neptune actually becomes the tier 3, it would be the first battleship in the game to get torpedoes, which would be very interesting. The length is 546 feet, which is a little bit longer than the HMS Dragnaught. Displacement is 18,000. Dreadnought's displacement is is 18,120 tons. That's when it's at normal load, and HMS Neptune is a little bit heavier at 19,680 tons. So HMS Neptune was launched in 1909. HMS Dragnaught was launched in 1906. So, what does this exactly mean? It means that HMS Neptune is basically a slightly more advanced version of HMS Dragnaught. It's got a bit of a more weird gun layout. I don't really like the gun layout. I think it will cause a lot of problems. I do like the fact that it has torpedoes. That would be very, very nice. I think it's one torpedo at the bow and then one torpedo either side of the ship. That will catch a lot of people off guard when you launch one extremely devastating torpedo and do about 7,000 damage with the torpedo, unless the devs of 1945 nerfed the torpedo so it only does 3,000, which that would be very disappointing because there are torpedoes which are the same size which do about 6,000 damage a torpedo. So that's HMS Dragnaught and HMS Neptune. Really interesting, really. The next ships I have is Orion, which I think will be really interesting. 1910. Orion has 13.5-inch guns for 343mm guns. Now, the thing is about the British battleships is I really do hope that the devs of 1945 give the British battleships relatively weak armor, but a super heal and better HE than standard HE battleships. That would be fantastic. That will be true to the book, because the British battleships were renowned for their HE. It basically had Bella Pen, and it could set more fires and all that. But also the British battleships had outstanding damage control parties, which means in game it would be a super heal. Now, what do you mean by super heal, Arduous? Well, if you think about it, HMS Dreadnought, would repair probably like 5 times as much health per tick than, say, the USS South Carolina could repair each tick. But maybe the heal could be, have maybe instead of 108 cooldown, it could have a 220-second cooldown, which would be a bit of a balancing factor. But I would think it would make the dreadnoughts, the British dreadnoughts, a bit obsolete, because they don't really have the best guns, because their AP is something called a short fuse AP, which means that they are relatively um relatively not that good. I mean, they were very good for the HE, but they weren't that good with the AP because it was good against cruisers. Now, in game, these things would be devastating against cruisers and things, with really light armor because the you know the amount of damage you can do is ridiculous. That's why modern warships, British battleships are nicknamed cruiser killers because their AP, fuses so quickly. Um, and I hope they bring that into Naval 1945. I hope they really, really, really do stick to the facts and not just balance them because they wish they want to. Because that would be really sad if they just completely screw the British battleships up. It would just be ridiculous. Like maybe you can give them like really crap AP, but really really good HE, um, or something like that. Maybe give them a slightly less range than standard battleships. That'll be also a balancing factor. Um, but yeah, like just give them a really good gimmick. Um, that'll be really cool. So we have HMS Ryan and hang on. I'll look this up real quick. Uh, no, Lord Nelson. What is it like? 10 times 234 guns. Really? How did you stuff that many guns onto that ship? That's what's this? Dreadnought? Devastation. Don't know what that is. HMS Dragnaught. Yes, HMS Dragnaught. Oh, no, that's not what we're for. Wait, can we actually select the maybe can't just look at that. Let's scroll down. There's Bellerophon. Bellerophon could be a good premium. Good tier 3 premium because it's basically a 250 millimeters of belt armor. That's really low. That's really really low armor for a dreadnought. And the main battery armor, no, turrets. I do apologize. Turrets 280. Reasonably good. Conning tower is 280. Dex is 100. So which means that if barbets are 230, and because the South Carolina has insane pen, it would just slice right through the barbets. But there are no barbets. That's the thing. If the South Carolina, one of the South Carolina shells hits here, it could cause a magazine detonation. But yeah, the belt armor, it's the armor that's here. You see where this line is? That is the belt armor, and that's only 250, which means even like the Satsuma can punch through that. This is how weak the armor is. It is dreadfully weak. And I really, 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 really do hope that the devs of 1945 actually take this into consideration and think, hang on a minute, we need to put them in as they were in real life. Like for example, this Sir Vincent, that's just a dreadnought, isn't it? Oh, that's an interesting design. Oh no, that's just a what do you call it? Thingamajig. Uh, Neptune class. Orion. Orion would be a really nice tier 4, but again, belt armor very weak. That's like tier 3 levels. If I'm correct, the South Carolina has 205 mm of belt armor. This only has 300, and this would most likely be the tier 4. The turrets again are 280, which is really weak for tier 4. The barbettes are really weak, and the barbettes are so exposed. They're so exposed. It does have 343mm guns, and it has a absolute crap ton of secondaries. King George will get on to. Oh no, that's an Orion class. I do apologise. Let me go same. Oh, hang on a minute, that's different. That's different now. Iron Duke. Here we go. Ooh. Ooh, that would be a really bad tier 5. Barbet's 250. Oh, man. It does get 152mm guns now. That's pretty good. But that belt armor, 300. Oh, that's gonna really, really, really hurt. That's gonna really hurt. Somebody punches through that. Even some cruisers may be able to citadel you with AP. This is why I said that British battleships should get a superhero, because this will be ridiculous. Like, nobody would run this line if they don't have like a superhero, or if they don't have super or a high explosive. I think they should get both, in my opinion. I think they should get both. It's just, the belt armor is trash, and the guns will just get knocked out all the time with the 280, armor on the guns. That's the front armor of the turrets, by the way, 280. The side armor is like probably 150 or something like that, which is terrible. Agincourt. Ooh, this would be a vicious tier 5 premium. I think this has like, is it like 14 305s? So yeah, this thing would absolutely nail you in the face. This thing, if this thing is probably be tier 5 premium, this thing will probably not get a super heal, but a standard heal, but it will still retain the super high explosive. Agincourt, here we go. 14 305mm guns, 20 152s, 12 76, 2 AA. So it basically has no A. The belt armor, oh my god, the belt armor is even worse. 230. It means that every cruiser will be able to absolutely butcher you. The turrets do have a bit more armor. The barbettes, this will be a massive weakness here. You see where the belt armor drops off here? If you pen right there, you get an ammo rack every single time. Every single time. Hms Irwin. What's this? What is this? It's an Orion class. Shield 300. Belt. Hang on, that shield. Belt. Basically belt. Wingless will be tier 6, obviously, because it's got 15-inch guns. But again, the belt armor is quite poor for tier 6. Barbettes are really badly armored. Turret face is 230. I mean, that's alright armor, really, but hey. HMS Canada. Ooh. Terrible armor. Terrible. This thing would definitely need a super heal. But it gets 14-inch guns, which is interesting. This would probably be a fantastic tier 6 premium. It gets 1652s, 276, 2 AA, really? Oh, that's interesting. Revenge class. Now, isn't this the, yeah, this is the, yeah. 15-inch guns. This will probably be another tier 6 premium. Oh my god, that armor. Oh, it's just it's not terrible, but it's not good. It's like it's a lot worse than tier 6 battleships. N3 classic dreadnoughts. Should we reach for? I think we should talk about this one. Oh, does it end there? I think this one had 457mm guns. Yeah, 457, so 18-inch guns. This will probably be like a tier 9 premium, or maybe a tier 9 tech tree, I don't know. So where's King George? No, I did see it here somewhere. Iron Core. That's Irwin. And Ryan class. Leophon. Lord Nelson. This one would probably be a. It'll probably be a tier 2 premium. Because that was 305, which is pretty good. Citadel was 203, which is. I'm not too good on Citadel armor, but what I do know is that all the British battleships have terrible Citadel structure. That's what I know. So let's look at HMS. HMS Kingdom Spit. Now this would be a fantastic tier 7. Because it's got 14-inch guns, which are pretty terrible at tier 7. They would have terrible pen. Where's the armament? There you go. BL 14-inch, 356, not 360, but 356mm Mark 7 guns. And then it has 16 5.25 or 133mm Mark 1 guns. And that is a extreme amount of AA. 64 2-pounder pompons, 40mm. Holy crap, that's a lot of AA. Main belt. Oh, that's pretty good. 380. Ooh, isn't that like tier 8, tier 9 standards? Tier 10 standards of armor? That's pretty good armor. A lower belt is terrible. 150, which means when the ship is, say, turning to the right and you're looking at the ship from its right side and it lifts its right side up, you can citadel it. Main turret's 330, which is alright for tier 7, I guess. Robert's 330, yeah. 28 knots. That's pretty good for tier 7. That's really quick for tier 7 actually. The Colorado does 21. The Nagato does 25. What was it, 27? No, I think it's 25. 28 knots, that would be fantastic. And it'll be a very big ship. It's 745 feet. And a very heavy ship at 42,000 tons. It's got that 244 setup. Or 424 setup, I do apologise. So it has the twin 14-inch turret on the barbette. And then that's at the front of the ship. If I actually, can I get a diagram of... I'm sure I can. HB, let's look, HB, oh, there we go. Oh no, hang on. Well, god damn it. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for... here we go. So, it's not really a good picture, but hey, we're gonna have to roll with it. Unless I find a better picture. Here we go. So it's got one dual turret on a barbette, one quad turret below the dual turret, and then another quad turret at the back. But the back turret has horrendous firing arcs, which means you have to get a huge amount of broadside. But a disadvantage to the King George is it has horrendous torpedo protection, and it has horrendous citadel armor, which means that if you have enough pen, which most tier 7s will have enough pen, we'll just slice right through the armor and, you know, down the drain, HP goes. Again, this is why I believe that they should have super heals, because they just have terrible armor. My 330 is alright, but it's not enough to stop, you know, some really deadly guns out there. So, King George V would be a brilliant tier 7. I honestly believe that Hood refit, not the normal hood, but the refitted hood would look fantastic. I think it's the one with improved AA and let's have a look. Yeah, either 12, 16, or 16, 4, 5, 7 for now. She updated to multiple 40mm mounts. Holy God! Jesus, so this thing would... God. Remove the armored control and the side armor. What about main guns? In my opinion, I would think that the HMS food refit would be fantastic, because Even though she's a battle cruiser, she would be a pretty good premium um, tier 7. Or she could be a branch off from the what did I say for tier 6 would be? Queen Elizabeth. From Queen Elizabeth. Which kind of does make sense, but at the same time kind of doesn't make sense, because you go from Queen Elizabeth, which is a pretty mobile ship, but not stupidly mobile, to a battle cruiser, which is insane mobile, 32 knots, really, 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 really terrible armor. Obviously the refit will probably have better armor, probably have new engines, probably this and that. But HMS Hood would be a fantastic tier 7. Now, what I think is it could do a branch of tech tree where you have then from tier 6 to tier 7, you then have 2 tier 7s, 2 tier 8s, 2 tier 9s, 2 tier 10s. Now, the 2 tier 8s could be the tier 8 could be from the King George, could be the HMS what's it called? Oh, I've got it in my head. Not Vanguard, HMS hang on. Oh, I've got it in my head. Tier 8, which is it's called Monarch. So HMS Monarch would be a fairly interesting ship, really, because it's basically a King George V, but instead of having the quad turreted guns, she has triple turrets which have 15-inch guns, and she'll probably have a 25-second reload, just like the King George V, which would also have a 25-second reload with her 14-inch guns. Now, do I think that at tier 8, 25-second reload for 15-inch guns is a bit too quick? No, because at that tier, you have 16, 16.1-inch guns. With the Germans, you have 15-inch guns, so you have the Bismarck, obviously, and the Tirpitz. So I think a 25-second reload is more than, that's fine. Obviously, the Monarch has the exact same armor layout as the King George, so the same belt armor, which is pretty nice, but you're a tier higher now. That means you'll be running into 410s, you'll be running into 457s, you'll be running into Yamatos now, which is insane. You would be overmatched by everything. And because you've got 32mm of bow plating armor, now Naval 1945 doesn't really have an overmatch mechanic, and I think the game should have an overmatch mechanic. I know they're trying to stick to real life as possible, but I just feel like when you have a 460mm shell ricochet of a possible 25mm bow, it doesn't really add up. That's a fact that you're basically launching a mini fan from a gun. You know, this shell is probably about 3 tons, and you're launching at 25 millimeters of armor. I know it's slow, but blah blah blah, whatever. Um, but Monarch has 32 millimeters of plating, while King George V has 27 millimeters of plating. Don't ask me why. You know, Monarch has more armor, but I think it's for balancing purposes. Um, oh, excuse me, I do apologize. Um, but HMS Monarch would I think she has the same secondary guns as King George V, but I do believe from looking at this picture right here that she gets more. I think it's more 40 millimeters, or was it more 20 mils? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, she does. She does get 381 millimeter guns. She does 28 knots, so it's a teeny weeny bit slower than the King George, which does 28.3 knots. And that's just because the Monarch is carrying heavier guns and heavier turrets. I think she's also got more armor on her turrets as well. But she really retains the same secondary firepower, which is starting to get a bit lackluster, starting to get a bit annoying. Um, but anyway, that's the Monarch. I think she'll be a brilliant introduction to the game. Um, and so the next ship will be Lion. And no, not the 1910 Lion. I'm talking about the Lion which is 1944 model. I believe this one has 419 millimeter guns, which is an insane, size. 419 is pretty big for tier 9, but you have to take into account that, um, is it 419? No, 60. It's 406. I do apologize. She has the same 133 millimeters. She has 8 twin, and then she has 6 quadruple 2-pounder 40 millimeter. So 6 times 4 is quick math. Quick math. It goes down to 6 times. So that's 24 barrels of the 2-pounder, which is it's alright, I guess, but that's not a lot of AA. Bit armor is 6 to 14.7 inch, 373. Little bit better belt armor, but not that much. She does 30 knots, which is insane. But again, she doesn't have that much armor. The gun turrets have a little bit better armor, 381. But again, she doesn't have that much armor. The reason why I think that line would be a fantastic pick is because she's basically a newer design of the King George V. That's basically what she is. She's a newer design. And then for the last one, either Hms Conqueror, Conqueror Battleship. Uh, no, that's something. Uh, um, yeah, so basically, HMS Conqueror is basically the Lion class battleship, but instead of getting 406 millimeter guns, she gets whopping 457 millimeter guns at tier 10. Now, if I can get some images of her, here we go. Now, that's not really that good. No, that's the Orion class. No. Uh, here we go, Conqueror. Now, this image here, I believe, is Thunderer. Now, Thunderer is the second of the Conqueror class. And HMS Conqueror was meant to have the 457s, but then it was decided that she would have 419mm guns, and then Thunderer would have 457. But I would think that Conqueror would be really interesting with 419mm guns at tier 10. And then Thunderer could be the branch off, could be the tier 10 with 457mm guns. Now, talking about the branch off from Hood, the tier 8 could be. Now, this could be interesting. This might shock a lot of you guys, but Nelson. Now, the reason why I picked Nelson after HMS Hood is because Nelson has, instead of 381mm guns, she has 406, and she has 9 of them in what they call as a it's some kind of name, but it's basically where you have all your turrets in the bow, and she has 25mm of bow and stern armor, which basically means she has pretty terrible armor overall. So if we have a look at the armor, yeah, 356. Not good. That's not good. Armament, 3 triple 406mm guns, 3 twin 6-inch guns, 152. Those are located at the back. 6 single 120mm AA guns. That's a lot of AA power. 8 single 40mm AA guns. Yeah, that's not really that good AA power, but hey, I mean, you're paying for it with having a staggering firepower. But again, she has not really that good armor, and you have to show so much broadside just to use that third turret. The next gun is what's it called? Anson. Anson. The post Admiral class battles. Not like King George V. Yeah, there you go. HMS Anson right here. Now this is HMS Anson right here. She had the same guns as HMS Nelson, but they were in a bit of a weird configuration where you have the two turrets at the front in a super fine position, but then you had the third turret behind the main tower. And she's a huge ship, absolutely massive. And again, yes, she's a battle cruiser. So you go from battle cruiser to battleship to battle cruiser. HMS Anson, she had less armor than the HMS Nelson, but she was a lot quicker at 33 knots. G3 class. G3 class.
Yeah, 3x3, 406mm guns. Yeah, Nelson was an NP class. Um, and then, God, Jesus, HMS Dragnaught. HMS Dragnaught. This would have been Court Super Red. Basically, it's like the Anson layout, but instead of 406, she has. So basically, it's like this layout, but instead of having 406, she has 457 miniguns. And I think she's a bit slower at 29 knots, 28 knots, and she has a lot more armor. And because there's really no that much detail about her, she also has pretty good AA. It's nowhere near as good as the Americans, but it's pretty good AA. And I think she'll be pretty good as a tier 10. The answer will be pretty good as a tier 9, and then the Nelson will be pretty good as tier 8. So, this is how I think it will go. So, if I make a new section, this is how I go. So, we have tier 3 will be the HMS Dragnaught, and then tier 4 will be a HMS Orion or Neptune. Tier 5 will be HMS what's it called? HMS um um Dreadnought, HMS Ryan, and then HMS Iron Duke. HMS Iron Duke. Did I say Iron Duke or did I say? No, I didn't say Iron Duke. I said Oh God, what did I say? I said oof. Now we're gonna find Duke anyway. And then tier 6 will be HMS Elizabeth, and tier 7 slow BB will be HMS King 5th, and then we'll go over here, and tier 7 battle cruisers, fast battleships, will be damn it. Will be HMS Hood, tier 8 slow BB will be HMS Monarch, And tier 8 battleship will be HMS Nelson, and then tier 9 solo BB will be HMS Ryan, then tier 9 battle cruiser will be HMS Anson, and then tier 10 BD will be HMS Conch or Thunderer. And then tier 10 battle cruiser slash Dreadnought will be the HMS Agincourt. And of course the premium will be tier 5 HMS Agincourt, tier 2 will be HMS the Battleships, or maybe three Dreadnoughts, or submarine. Third. Okay, that's not really interesting. I need renown. This is one. Is it that one? London Castle. Lord Nelson? I think it's the Lord Nelson. Lord Nelson would be a pretty nice, tier 2. And then tier 10 could be the Conch or Thunderer. Tier 8 could be the HMS Renown. HMS Renown. I'm talking about the the World War II-ish kind of design. All these other premiums. over. Ugh. It's gonna take forever. So the reason why I put as Conqueror Thunderer as tier 10 premiums or tier 10 tech trees because one of them could be the tech tree and then one could be a premium. I think the Conqueror would be a fantastic tech tree, and then Thunderer could be the premium or a freemium. Freemium basically means that you earn it with 3 XP, which would be a absolute pain to grind. But you know, of course, there's no well, there is repercussions to changing ship XP to 3 XP, I believe. And so we are now going to look at the good is amazing HE, super heal, fast, good turning circle, good spotting, fast turning turrets, and then bad is mediocre. I'm not sure how to spell it, but I'd say bad armor. Or AP pen. Some ships have low gun size. Low HP pools. Near AA. Near secondary power. So basically, the good is, well, the good things about all these ships will be amazing HE because they're all British, super heal because they're all British, fast, not all of them, not all of them, good turning circle. Oh, really? Good turning circle again, not all of them. Good spotting again, not all of them. Fast turning turrets again, not all of them. And in the bad, obviously, they all will have terrible pen, except of the Conqueror and Thunderer. And the HMS Nelson and all the others that have 14-inch guns, 14, not 14, 16-inch guns and higher, will have all right pen. They would still have the same pretty terrible AP shell fuse, and they'll be pretty blimmin' good against cruisers. But of course, you can blap them with HE. Not one shot, but you can do increased damage. You can have increased fire. Amazing HE basically means better chance at setting fires and more damage and higher. So basically, they are kind of like SAP, like semi-armor piercing, but they're not, because SAP doesn't really set fires, but because this is HE, it has, you know, like increased pen. Super heal, so basically between heals 3 to 5 times more than same tier. battleships, this is a must because the British battleship will have low HP pools. Not all of them are going to be fast. Not all of them are going to have good turning circles, and not all of them are going to have fast turn turrets. So yeah, bad armor. Most of them have bad armor. Poor AP pen. They all have poor AP pen. Except for the Thunderer or the Conqueror. You know, either one can have the 4, 5, 7s. Some ships have low caliber. Again, like King George has low caliber. Conqueror would most likely have the 419mm guns, which will be a pretty low caliber for tier 10. But of course, you have the Iowa and the Montana at tier 9 and tier 10, which have 406. So can you really call it low caliber? Yeah, kinda, but not really. Low HP pools. When I mean low HP pools, I mean like, isn't the Montana's like 60 something K? So low HP pools, like maybe 10 to 20% less than. Yeah, that's a bit too harsh. 10 to 15% less than less than other same tier battleships. So mere AA, basically mediocre AA and mediocre secondary power, basically means that they will have pretty decent AA and then pretty decent secondary firepower. Not the best secondary firepower and not the best AA. And because of that lower HP pool, which means you won't be able to take as much damage. And of course, if you're running like say something like King George V, you're going to have terrible AP pen, but you're going to have extremely good HE. And of course, you're going to have that super heal. Now, the low tier ships will not have access to the super heal. Low tier ships will not. So if I put low tier ships will not have the super heal. For balancing purposes, I would say the super heal can start at like say tier 6 onwards, and then the super heal becomes vastly more powerful as you go up the tiers. So like tier 6, it could heal like say 3 times as much as the same tier, and then tier 10 could heal as much as say 7 times as much as the same tier. So for example, the Iowa heals 210 HP per second. So if we go to our trusted calculator and then we do 210 times by 5, that will be 1000 HP per tick. That is a super heal. That is a monster heal. So your HP will be good just going boop, 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 and then before you know it, you're up to full health again. Which do you think would be annoying? Not really. If you slash that super heal in half, say instead of it running at 60 seconds, it can run at 30 seconds, it will be less of a pain. And then the Conqueror could say, I'm gonna just pull out a number out of my ass and say that the Montana heal was at say 350 per tick. Conqueror will heal like 7 times as quick as that. Probably not as insane as that. Probably 4 times. So it'll heal a little bit more, 1,400 per tick. That's a super heal. And this is what the British battleships need. They need super heals. Because they will have low AP pen, bad armor, low HP pools. All of them will have low HP pools. The low tier battleships will suffer greatly because they will not have access to super heal. So they'll be healing, say, The tier 6 will be healing like say 170 per tick, which is very relatively low. I know that the Pennsylvania heal was about 150 per tick, so 170, could you really call that super heal? Not really, that's just a strong heal. Now a strong heal is something like Iowa's, which is a 210. That is a strong heal. It's not a super heal, because for it to be considered as a super heal, it needs to be healing as much as 500 or more than that per tick. And because the Lion, which is the same heal, will be healing, I'll say 3 times as much. It'd be 630 per tick. So here, if we're hitting 3 times as much heal per tick than the Iowa, which means that burning with the British battleships down will not be possible. Also, the bad things is that they all have less range than the same tier battleships. So what I mean by this is that they will have, like, for example, say Ira's range is what, 18 km. So we put Iowa 18 km. Lion will be around, say, 16 km. Now that's a 2 kilometer difference. Now that might not seem like much, but then you have to take into consideration that King George V will have probably, say, 13 km range or 13.5, which would be a excruciatingly, terrible balance factor, but you will have the super heal and the super HE. And if they actually do these changes, but they do not give these ships the super heal or the super HE, they are going to see so many complaints. It will be off the charts. But in my own opinion, I think that these battleships will be absolutely fantastic because, not only will they have poor AP, but they will have the super heal. So instead of battleships constantly flinging AP, you will then have a whole tech tree of battleships which will depend on their HE more to do damage. So they'll be doing, like, say, their AP does, like, say the Conqueror with the 457 does per shell 12,000 damage. The HE would do more, probably say 13,500 damage. That's if it pens. And then it will do that maximum amount damage. That is what super HE is you are doing more damage than your AP because your AP is so bad. And this is what I think the British battleship will be like. And I would really love for them to come in like this, to have a super heal, to have super HE, to have good turning, for some of them to be quick, for some of them to have good spotting, for some of them to have low HP, for some of them, well, for all of them to have lower HP, some of the ships to have low gun caliber, obviously, and then all of them will have low AP pen. That would be fantastic. That would be a balancing factor beyond belief. It would make a lot of people happy because then you would have a type of battleship where it relies on the HE, but it also relies on its super heal, which would take longer to cool down. But once you get that super heal start running, you will then be able to print yourself a new ship. But it is only accessible past tier 6, probably tier 7. I think past tier 7 would be better. And then you can get access to the super heal, and then of course things like that. But you would get access to the super HE right off the bat. The tier 2 premium won't have the super HE, won't have the super heal. It would have pretty poor AP pen. It would have pretty alright armor, it would have probably average HP pool. It won't have low HP pool. It would have no AA, obviously. It would have probably mediocre secondaries, and it would have low range than standard battleships. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, give a thumbs up. If you did enjoy this video, give a thumbs down. Put in the comment section what you think about British battleships. What battleships from the British history would you like to see in Naval 1945? I hope that this really does set out the level of what these British battleships would look like. Honestly, in my own opinion, it looks fantastic. So if I just make that smaller, like there, move it over, so you know that it branches off. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.